Coming up on this episode of the Village Idiom.
This is like, so my dad used this phrase, fighting fire with fire, he would say it. And he's like a great guy, but he was a terrible fireman.
Dum dum da da, Village Idiom.
Hello and welcome to the Village Idiom.
We're a podcast, and every week we choose a popular saying to take an admittedly shallow, hopefully comedic, once in a while interesting, if we're lucky, educational dive into its usage, its meaning, its origins. But mostly we just choose one to hang our otherwise directionless conversation on. So my name is Jurassic Mark.
I am Skinny. It's okay having pointless conversation, I think.
I love it. I do it every day.
Yeah. It's
That I'm with you. Wait, are you ready?
There you go. Yeah, everything's been going pretty crazy. I guess we're a couple of weeks in, and we'll see what happens in America. America. And is LA still on fire? And
yeah, wow. There's a lot going on. Happy New Year.
It's just January.
Wow.
Think where it's going to go from here.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a friend just the other day about America. He's like, I don't know if I love America as much as you love America, because I love America. The conversation was on if you can move anywhere else in the entire world, and it's like, we've been to some cool places. Sweden's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like, America's pretty cool.
I
like
mean,
America.
So
yeah, great.
The question is, if you had to leave your country today, where would you choose?
America,
of course,
hands down.
And so would the person that said that to you.
They just don't want to admit it.
Well, where else would they go?
I don't know. Maybe.
No, they wouldn't.
Sweden's pretty nice.
It's nice to look at.
Yeah, I couldn't say the Borks. Like, that would be a lot of hassle.
If they had to leave the country,
yeah,
I know I know it's like cool. It's Canadian cool to hate America, but we don't really. It's like BC cool to hate Toronto, but we don't really.
No.
It's like if you had to leave,
But when people come at you with aggression, you feel like you have to come back with aggression. You know what I'm saying? Do you have any idea what I'm saying right now?
It's like you set up the episode that I'm never ready for and never see coming.
every week.
Yeah, when somebody comes at you saying I hate America, but you don't hate America.
I don't. I think
you know what you need
awesome.
to do?
Sure.
I'll fight fire with fire.
You need to fight fire with fire. See?
And that is today's idiom: fighting fire with fire.
Fighting fire with fire.
I don't think it's probably not a great practice.
Well, it depends on what it means exactly. Like there's the origins. We'll get to that in a little bit. And there's some legitimacy to fighting fire with fire. But sometimes fighting fire with fire seems vengeful.
So this is like, so my dad used this phrase, fighting fire with fire, he would say it. And he's like a great guy, but he was a terrible fireman.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
man, I had a joke for you that I thought of yesterday. I'm like saving it for the podcast.
There's plenty of time left. Maybe it'll come back to you. Well, because there's part of our whole Christian premise about like not repaying evil with evil, but
that's what I'm saying. If it's vengeful
with good
versus
Romans 12,
for like. I mean, what's classic fire in the realm of Christianity? Hell? So are we allowed to give hell?
Give hell? Well, some people will say like a preacher. They're like, that was a fiery sermon.
Right.
But he can come in and be like so boring of a human and then come in with this fiery like message. And I think it's more like his alter ego.
Yeah, he's not like that off the pulpit.
It's a little play on words.
Oh, shoot. Say it again. Alter. Oh, I did miss it. Alter ego. Yeah. That's actually great.
It's his alter ego.
It was missed on me. But that's a great joke.
I don't know. There's a whole genre of preachers that like light up.
Yeah.
That whole fiery, doesn't even have to be brimstone, but they just light up behind that.
Yeah. They're playing a part. They're playing a part up there. Guaranteed they're not like that at Safeway.
No, they're boring. You know them. We've met them.
You know them.
We worked with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like, it's so boring. But
great public speaker. What if they were like that off stage? Would you still hang out with them?
Okay, so would it be more fun if off stage they were just like fiery crazy, and then they get up there, and then it's just so boring. Oh man!
Oh, like they're the actual opposites. Yeah. That's funny. So they're in Safeway in line. I can't even think of an example. I'm trying to
just like an outrageous like that zany personality that is like on 100.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get behind that,
turn with me to page 104. Just this morning, I saw you at the drive-thru screaming your head off, all fired up, and now you're like,
today is a great day. A great day.
There it is. There it is. That's the televangelist voice, like going through the Starbucks drive-thru.
I'll take a half calf, a decaf, tall, venti.
Get behind the pulpit. Morning, everyone. I got my caffeine today, and today we're going to turn to God's Word.
You kind of went a little into Eeyore and Snuffleupagus there.
Hey, bird.
Hey, congregation. Today we're flipping to page 104.
God's Word.
Yeah, but then Snuffleupagus is... I guess you can't have something the size of Snuffleupagus like on high.
Well,
like walking through the street, just being zany.
Isn't that T.D. Jakes?
I don't know. I haven't seen his normal life.
But he's the size of Snuffleupagus and all fired up.
Well, I can't comment. It's a pot kettle situation.
Go ahead, continue with that.
As I started it. So I just cut off all the words.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah. So anyways.
So can you think of a scenario where you're fighting fire, like the way this idiom is used, if fight fire with fire, you respond to an attack with a similar method as the attack. So is that ever justified? And I don't mean like a political war, because probably is for the sake of protecting your country. But I mean in real life, I'm going to fight fire with fire. That usually sounds more aggressive than it needs to be.
Well, so there are people who choose to set the world on fire. This is their disposition. And sometimes in a fiery scenario, you need a fire break, which is a purposeful laying down of fire in order to prevent fire from spilling into other areas. And so you purposely torch a perimeter around a fire so that it can't spill over. A fire break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how can you use this in your real life?
Sometimes lines need to be drawn in situations like where if someone is a line crosser, you
line crosser.
Cross-stitching
sounds like how
line crosser.
Elf, Buddy the Elf would say it.
Then you need to lay it down. So you need to, and sometimes when people are in that space, it's a wake up call to like, so you don't have to be out and out like rude, but you don't have to eat it.
Is giving somebody a taste of their own medicine, which is an idiom we've covered, the same as fighting fire with fire? So, or is there overlap anyway? Like if you have a coworker that you guys have just butted heads, mm-hmm. and you've told me stories on and off the mic of what you like dislike about yourself. You know what I did to this guy? I went and he was supposed to do this presentation. I sabotaged his PowerPoint or whatever. You didn't actually do any of that, but I'm trying to think of something. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But like you've told stories that are mostly comical. To be fair, you're not evil spirited, but you're like, I needed him to know what it feels like.
Yeah.
So is that fighting fire with fire?
I don't think it's healthy. I do this, but I don't know that it's healthy.
No, you've said that.
Yeah.
It's still funny.
Yeah, it makes me feel better.
I've been on the receiving ends.
It makes me feel better.
And it's, put me in a lurch, but it's funny after.
Well,
my dad and I have a relationship like that. Like I remember for a short stint years ago, my parents moved in with us and our kids, and they're being helpful. But him and I got into a prank war.
Okay.
And so it was literally fighting fire with fire, but all in good humor, right? And so it started with, there was this shower in the house that if you turned the shower head enough, as soon as you turned on the water, you were getting wet. Like,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like it turned far enough that it sprayed into the room.
Yes.
So whenever
That's
last thing, he gets up like before dawn to go to work. So I right before bed, because I'm up later than him, I would turn the shower head. And it doesn't matter how many times you do it, you don't always remember to check.
Right.
So he was constantly getting sprayed in the face. So then I can't remember how he retaliated, and so I had to up the game. He did something that got me, and then I'm like, okay, I won't turn the shower head because he's going to look. But I filled the shower head with purple Kool-Aid. So as soon as the water comes on, he's going to turn purple. So it builds up. What's the word I was about to say? It culminates.
Sure.
Culminates. And the last one, I got home from work one day. I was carpooling with someone at the time, and he's kind of smirking, and he's like, "I had a good one today," and I couldn't pull the trigger. And when he told me what it was, I'm like, it would have put me out, but it's hilarious. You should have done it. And it was, he knows the guy I carpool with well enough. He was going to call him up and go, "Hey, I'm in Vancouver. You don't need to pick Mark up." So I was working downtown, an hour drive away, and I would have been just sitting there waiting. He's like, in this before texting, and
wow,
so I would have just had to find a bus or something. Yeah. And I'm like, that's pretty funny.
The subtlest one that I've had done to me, a friend who I was staying with in his, and so I, Raz his mom, just general whatever Raz banter. And when I moved
Raz banter,
when I moved away from their place, she sewed up the pockets on my jacket. And
with your keys inside.
Nope. And so I put my jacket on and everything. But you know how some jackets and nicer jackets, they start stitched.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I
start to rip it.
I thought for sure that this was one of those jackets.
You've broken the seal.
No. And so I didn't bother. I'm like, oh, it's probably.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah.
So she sewed it up, and then I just never went into the pockets again. I think she ended up telling like my mom or whatever about what she'd done, and they just let it go. And it was like months and months of like trying to. Every time you just go to your jacket, you try and put your hand in, and it's not there. And I didn't know. Like, that was a good one.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's actually. It would have been better with like a little bit of change inside. You can hear $2 rattling. I know
there's a way in somehow. Yeah, it's the fighting fire with fire. That practical joke. That's a good one. I was Googling how to fight fire with fire. And I got 52,000 matches was the response from Google. So I don't know if it's the most effective way. Poor LA, right?
I've heard so much about the fires. I haven't seen a single image.
Oh, it's pretty shocking, actually.
I did see a video of Mel Gibson.
How does that happen to like here in a like fire suppression-y place? Like, interesting.
I've heard just the facts, and then I hear like all these conspiracy things. It's like, what a coincidence that there's no fire in the hydrants. The
water
insurance, and that'd be fighting fire with fire.
If you're shooting fire on things,
there's no water in the hydrants.
What's causing this?
Apparently, the insurance companies pulled all their fire insurance like a couple, 2, 3, 4 months prior to that, saying, "Oh, it's too dry." So all these things line up, and then fires happen. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if any of that's like if there's any actual master plan, but it's interesting to see those things line up and go,
sure. All the conspiratorial parts.
Yeah, I love that
it's
stuff.
Significant.
I don't even always believe it, but I love going down that trail and listening to.
Because sometimes it's accurate.
Yeah,
every once in a while.
Give it 6 months.
Yeah, there's a saying about that.
I know, but the difference between
fake news and news is 6 months.
6 months, yeah. So like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways.
Yeah, no, I literally haven't seen a single image. I've just been hearing it because I most of my news listening is listening, not watching.
It was just a significant, like the damage. It's massive. It's
crazy.
Like, yeah, if like full swaths of Vancouver burnt down, you'd be like, what? Like, how?
Is it like the city?
Well, the burbs, but yes. There's like shopping plazas. There's all sorts of stuff gone. Like just leveled.
Like Maui.
Yeah.
That is now turned into 15-minute cities.
There you go. Yeah, so how they started, I'm sure there was, if it always sounds like nice and innocent, like someone flicked a cigarette butt out of a.
Well, they have said none of it is or what did I hear? Of course, who knows what the source is I'm hearing it from, but I heard that it's already proven that it was mostly arson. It's just that they couldn't stop it once it
Okay.
got going. So, arson, no fire insurance, no water in the hydrants, and fantastic politicians.
So yeah, it's like a collision of
It's
events.
the alignment of planets.
Well, it was only that couple years back when Notre Dame,
yeah.
the cathedral all burned up. They don't know who did it, but Quasimodo has a hunch. And so, well, who knows what
Ladies and
really
gentlemen,
happened.
that was the intro to today's episode. I'm pretty sure, right there.
And so, who really knows?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
No.
But, anyways, Fighting Fire with Fire actually has an actual origin.
It does.
Not just our rambling nonsense, but
No, believe it or not,
we should probably
that wasn't the highlight.
We should probably find out a little bit about where it came from.
I'm in.
All
If
right.
you're in,
I'm in.
you're in.
Said some words, where'd they go? Where'd they go? No one can know. I turned around
Boom,
and
boom.
looked behind. Those words came from another mind. Origins.
Speaking of fighting fire with fire, I was away for the weekend in the province next door to us, and it was cold.
The bird is?
Yeah, it was so cold. Like, it has nothing to do with fire. It just temperature. I was like,
You wish you had a fire.
I wish I had a fire. It was minus 16, minus 18.
Wow, that sucks.
And only the 2 days that I was there, so that was brutal. Okay, so when we fight fire with fire, we've already said this, but likely it means to employ more extreme methods than we would normally do. And this is what I got. This is Shakespeare referring to fighting fire with fire in King John 1595. It goes like this.
William Shakespeare. What did he say?
Billy Bob, the Shakes, they called him. Be stirring as the time, be fire with fire, threaten the threatener, and outface the brow of bragging horror. So that's the first time that fighting fire with fire, although it doesn't say fighting, it says be fire with fire. So good old the Shakes may have been the first time to put it on paper, but there's a lot of proof that the phrase fighting fire with fire may have already been in existence, but more importantly, that whole idiom came much after that. So it's kind of one of those mix. We've had this before where it's like, could be really old, could be not that old.
Didn't Shakespeare? He also said
Shaky?
Shaky, as his friends called him. Give a man a fire, he'll be warm for a night. Set him on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that was one of his quotes as well.
Okay, so the source of this phrase was actually, surprise, surprise, comes from firefighting. It was taken on by U.S. settlers in the 19th century. They attempted to guard against grass or forest fires, very similarly to what you've already described. Thanks for blowing the surprise by deliberately raising small, controllable fires.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yeah, which they called backfires. What did you call it? You called it something.
Fire break.
Fire break.
Yeah.
To remove any flammable material in advance of the larger fire. So, like in the case of LA, if they had taken down that mall that you saw burning first,
Right.
burn it first intentionally.
Then we have them here. We're supposed to.
Malls?
Yeah.
I'm positive we do.
Where there's like those forest service roads, FSRs.
FSRs?
Yes, as they call them in the biz. They go up and make sure that patches are cleared so that, because every year our province catches fire. It's like an
Yeah.
annual event.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, BC's on fire again. And so
they do that.
yeah, I think it's supposed to like at least limit the damage. Like,
Well, yeah, it deprives the bigger fire of fuel.
right.
So it's gone. So this literal fighting fire with fire is often successful, even today, but back then as well. Although the settlers, this is what it says, although the settlers' lack of effective fire control equipment meant that their own fires, their backfires that they attempted to set to stop the bigger fire, often got out of control.
That's funny.
And would make matters much worse, obviously. So there's actually a recording on one of those in Caroline Kirkland's novel, based on her own experiences in of Frontier, Michigan in the 1840s. A new home, who'll follow. Let's just get to the quote. The more experienced of the... There's like... Okay, 1840s, a new home, who'll follow, or glimpses of Western life written under the pseudonym of Mrs. Mary Clavers. I didn't want to say all that.
No.
I know I should give credit where credit's due, but it's such a long sentence.
That's a lot of sentence.
The more experienced of the neighbors declared there was nothing now but to make a backfire. So homeward we all ran and set about kindling an opposing serpent which should swallow up the rest. But it proved too late. The flames only reached our stable and haystacks the sooner. Doesn't use the idiom. Is just describing how far back they used to do these backfires, but that
When I think
could
backfire,
occasionally get out
of like a car.
Oh yeah,
That the timing is out, and so it backfires because
right.
Yeah, the cycling is out with the timing belt. It's the same thing as like a firefighter. It's different than a firefight.
But if your back is on fire, that's a backfire.
It depends on how much fuel is back there. Like you've got a really hairy back, then you're in trouble. That could go on for a long time.
That's why you need to do a backfire.
You need to shave like it into
fire
panels.
break.
Yeah,
Fire
to have a
break.
fire break on your back hair. Gross.
Why do you have tracks across your back hair?
Checkerboard. Like we play
fire break.
tic-tac-toe.
What are you crazy?
What if I catch fire? I don't want it to go everywhere. That's so nasty.
I actually saw, man, I couldn't tell you what show it was. This is so long ago. This guy was traveling all over the world, weird customs and weird whatever. And he was in, I don't know, I would have to research it. But it was a body hair removal clinic. Mm-hmm. I think it was like Thailand or something crazy, where they put this like almost like rubbing alcohol on whatever area you want to remove hair and then light a match. And it was just like, you're hairless.
That must smell lovely in there.
Oh, yeah. So he did it. He was terrified. The host of the show,
Sure.
He travels wherever and does whatever the thing is.
That's how you
And
shave
so
in the morning?
He's just like, he's like, well, if we're doing it, we're doing it. So it was like the nether regions is what he did. Because he was a relatively hairless guy.
Wow.
So they didn't show it, but they're like, okay. And he just like kind of winces and they're like, whoosh. You see this puff of smoke and he's like, ah! And look, he's like, wow. It's like, I'm impressed.
That's crazy.
So in 1 second, you could be hairless.
Wow. Bushfire.
With the right rubbing alcohol.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Totally.
I've set
Unless you have a YouTube channel, it's already successful.
on fire. I guess so.
The earliest usage of Fight.Fire.With.Fire that I found anyway in print, not counting that Shakespeare one, which wasn't the full idiom, was in the U.S. Author Henry Tappan's 1852 reminiscence, A Step from the New World to the Old and Back Again. This is the quote. Smoking was universal among the men, generally cigars, not fine Havanas, but made of Dutch tobacco, and to me not very agreeable. I had some Havanas with me, so I lighted one to make, should be lit, I think. So I lighted one to make an atmosphere for myself. As the trappers on the prairies fight fire with fire, so I fought tobacco with tobacco. But it's funny because he says, as the trappers on the prairies. Is he even using it as an idiom?
No, it's just like he wants to use words.
Because he's talking about the trappers on the prairies fighting fire with fire. Like, he's talking about the backfires.
So,
anyway, 1852.
a firefighter doesn't necessarily have to be in a firefight.
What?
Because a firefight is like two armies engaging or whatever.
Oh, it's bullets.
Bullets. But a firefighter is like putting out
Fire with water.
Yeah. So a firefighter doesn't have to be in a firefight.
Huh. Who does?
That's all the difference there. Big difference.
That's the end of Origins, anyway. Excuse me.
Well, that was definitely exciting.
Was it?
William Shakespeare, followed up by the Shakes. I hope he doesn't have like Parkinson's or something.
Oh, no.
Or like now making fun of him called the Shakes. His friends call him the Shakes.
Turns out that's how he died, and we're calling him
the Shakes.
If Shakespeare died with Parkinson's,
we would have heard this by now.
We would have heard this by now, for sure.
Yeah.
Or was impaled by a spear.
Right, you'd have heard that by now.
We would have heard that.
Right.
Or a shaking spear.
Like it's still in.
Like it went in, but then someone went up
and that's what did him in.
Yeah. Shakespeare.
Yeah, we would have heard that by now.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So that definitely not how he died.
Unless that's how he got named. It wasn't even really his name until his death.
Wow.
Before that, he was Cliff Arsenal.
That could be it, I guess. I think we're pretty safe that he did not die of being impaled by a spear.
By shaking spear.
Or shaking spear. Just going on a limb. Well, we should probably wrap this little tidbit up.
All right. Riddle Link is a game we like to play, and so we do. It requires a 2-part overlapping trivia question and requires an overlapping answer. Overlapping by sound, syllable, word, or word. So, for example, last week, our idiom was an elephant never forgets, and we left you with this one. A prehistoric elephant is the study of Greek gods. A prehistoric elephant is the study of Greek gods.
I have mammoth
Yeah.
as a prehistoric elephant.
So a prehistoric elephant is the study of Greek gods. Do you know what the study of Greek gods is?
Mammotheology, mammotheocracy, mammoth. No, I got nothing.
Mythology. Woolly mammothology is what I had. So the correct answer is not woolly mammoth. It's not mythology. It's woolly mammothology. That is how you play riddling.
Well, I have two prepared.
I got two prepared.
Okay. Here we go with riddling number 1.
Number 1.
Shootout between armed groups, you say. Well, I'm going to do that back. Shootout between armed
like this
groups,
one.
you say. Well, I'm going to do that back.
I'm going to go with Fight.Fire.With.Fire. Oh, that is a mouthful. I like that one.
3 fires in there.
Firefight.With.Fire. Wow. Fight.Fire.With.Fire.
Yes.
I was so smooth the first time. I
It's
shouldn't
good.
have
You just went
repeated
with
it.
it.
Should have just left it. Okay, I got one. Here we go. Throwing today's special around the cafeteria is how to battle a forest blaze. Throwing today's special around the cafeteria is how to battle a forest blaze.
That little first bit messed me up. That is a food fight fire with fire.
Correctamundo.
Fantastic. Okay, I've got one more here. Okay, this is a little more abstract, but I think you'll get it. She's the tennis goat or not the goat? That is the question.
What? Okay, say that again.
She's the tennis goat or not the goat? That is the question. She is the tennis goat.
Venus? I don't know.
A little longer than that, and then you'll get it.
What's her last name?
Venus and what's her sister?
I know. Is it Williams? Mm-hmm. Venus Williams Shakespeare? Mm-hmm. Oh, I could not think of her last name. I was stuck.
Venus
I like that too. It's not to be or not to be. Saw one the other day. It's what's the other funny quote? I think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Saw somebody wearing a T-shirt that said, "I don't think, therefore I don't am." That's great. I love it.
Well,
Okay, I got one more. How do we play?
Village Idiom children. Reach out to us on Instagram at the.village.idiom or email us thevillageidiompodcast@gmail.com, or whether it's the Facebook, the YouTubes, or the X at 3 Minutes Gone.
Thank you. There's some little extra special activity. People chiming in this week more than usual.
Oh, sweet.
So Mr. Courtney and the Bradners. I don't know if he has a username.
Optimus Prime.
Is it?
He's Optimus Prime like everywhere else.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, they
It's
chimed in with the answers.
Optimus-
Everybody was
Optimist.
nailing it. Maybe we're making them easier
Optimist
so
Prime.
people are actually
Yeah.
playing. Optimist Prime. Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's better. Mm-hmm. Optimist Prime number. Okay, here's last one. Responding to an attack in similar fashion is like a medieval flying dinosaur. Responding to an attack in a similar fashion is like a medieval flying dinosaur.
And that is 3 Minutes Gone.
Bingo bango.
Well, fun stuff, illegitimate children. Have an amazing week. Would love to hear from you. Yeah, make sure you send us a little love.
Yeah, if this week you fight fire with fire, let us know about it.
Tell us your story.
We'll share it on air.
I'm Skitty,
I'm Jurassic Mark.
and these are the Village Idioms.
Last 3 minutes gone.